Kirby is back. Kirby is black. Wait. Trying to smash on some twins like September 11th. Gat on my hip, I'ma send them to heaven. Wait. Got the Ruger, I'm spazzing. On the green like I'm Shooter McGavin. Wait. Was a loser, it's tragic. Turned my life around doing some magic. Wait. From the black community. Moving with impunity. Throw a baby off a tree. What? No. Kinda lost it at the end there, but I gotta get signed at this point, man. I can't just keep spitting these bars like this, bruh. I gotta get my black ass out the hood, bruh. What up? It's been a minute since I've got on here. I'm getting tired of talking about the same old stuff, trying to move away. Hopefully people will still rock with me. I'm just going to talk on here whenever I actually have something to get off my chest, like I do today. Nothing ever happens. You're probably familiar with this idea if you clicked on the video. It doesn't have a literal meaning. It's not a metaphysical statement, nothing ever happens. It's meaning like all these online postmodern whatever terms is mimetic in that it gets replicated a lot because it holds cultural value. So here's what'll happen. We're connected to everywhere all the time on the internet, and on any social media platform where current events news is shared, it will be shared. Right now it's stuff like the stock market crash, civil war, civil unrest, of course escalation in the Middle East that could get worse, lead to all sorts of stuff, whatever, etc., etc. These type of things will be shared, and now inevitably in response to the sharing of these things and the predictions of the sharing of these things, the online hysteria that is whipped up. There seems to be a lot of doomsday prophets when any of these things come out, drawing all these conclusions. There's going to be a draft, World War III, economic collapse, etc. So now, in response to any of these events being shared, there will always be the repetition of this phrase or a couple images, nothing ever happens. What it seems to actually mean is that there's sort of a status quo in the West, at least, where, all these things do happen, but the status quo is not really threatened. In truth, something is always happening. There's always something happening, and we always have access to seeing all of these things across the entire globe on the internet. Everywhere, something's, something is bound to be happening across, there's like a lot of places. But the world keeps spinning, and it seems like the status quo is not really under threat, right? Because I've seen this a lot on the internet, growing up on the internet. When I was young, I can't remember what it was, probably just like maybe stumbling across videos about the Illuminati or something, but I remember being freaked out thinking the world was going to end. But it keeps on happening over and over again. 2020, there was all this stuff going on. People thinking it was over, it was cooked. There was the solar eclipse. I remember there's going to be like earthquakes and tsunamis because the planet, this eclipse is different because was it lunar or solar eclipse? I can't remember. The planets are going to be aligned in the specific way that only happens once every 400 years. And like CERN is going to fire up the cum accelerator and it's going to tear a dimension in the continuum. It's like, shut the fuck up, dude. Did it happen? No. Now, immediately, this might be a little stuff, whatever. Something's always happening. But the sun's still shining, the birds still chirping when I go outside. Both. There's like the image of what the Chud sitting in his room saying nothing ever happens, and a nuclear warhead is exploding outside of his window. But here's what I think. So the nothing ever happens. It's a response. It's a response to the knee-jerk internet reaction of doomsday, of hysteria, of panic, which I think is fair. But is it true? Who knows? Nobody can say what the future is. What I'm thinking is that nothing ever happens. This idea, this sort of mode of thinking is the only way to live. It's the only way that makes sense, okay? We're not supposed to be connected to everywhere all the time, all right? Some messed up shit is always going on somewhere around the world. And I'm not trying to be callous, but if it's not happening to me, if it's not in my world, if I can't see it, if it's not directly in front of me, besides pixels, I don't want this to be like a loose appeal to tradition, like this isn't how we've always lived, but the human brain isn't calibrated to deal with that or really, really care. You know what I mean? Unless it really starts to threaten you. Nothing ever happens is the only way that makes sense to live. Because it's like a Pascal's wager type situation. No matter what you think, what's going to happen is what's going to happen. You're not really an agent of authority in this type of situation. Despite whatever fruity little predilections you have of whether or not something will happen, it's still gonna fucking happen, right? So if you go through your life living normally, planning ahead, concentrating on your goals right now, on the people, on what's on your actual reality around you, not giving any energy or attention to what may or may not come to your life, that's how you do it, my baby. Because if something does happen, it was going to happen anyway. It's like a bet you're making that's already hedged inherently. Because if you think something's going to happen, then you're just going to fuck yourself up by anticipating it. Or you could just go through your life, and if it doesn't end up happening, then you're good. But if it does end up happening and you were super cognizant of it, look, I don't even if some of the stuff I see genuinely kind of gets to me or scares me a little bit, I try to take it in stride. I'm a grade A chiller. I'm not really losing sleep over this shit. I'm not a particularly neurotic person. Even still, it does kind of fuck up your feng shui, because how am I going to focus as a young man trying to turn my life around, navigate the ever more complex postmodern world, trying to structure my future to where maybe I could actually afford to buy property one day. I know, I'm a dreamer. How am I going to focus on my relationships, setting my life up? It just kind of throws off your feng shui. It fucks you up a little bit. I can't think about warheads falling. I don't want to know. I want to care about what's in front of me. I'm not trying to worry about all this shit. If a bomb is coming, it could strike right outside the crib right now. I don't want to know about it. I don't want to know about it in advance, thinking about, oh God, what's it going to feel like when the napalm burns my flesh? Oh God. I just want to be doing my thing, chilling, moving my life in motion, putting into action my plans, manipulating autistic women. You know what I mean? Getting them on my roster. I don't want to be thinking about a nuclear warhead, hearing it from miles away. I just want to be living my life And then if I'm living my life and then something happens, I can react, but I'm not going to plan for it or plan around it. I don't have the resources, extra time, or bandwidth to plan around this shit. I have ideally, you should be informed in some way, but that's tricky. I think most people would be better if they just didn't know. Like, why do we need to be plugged in everywhere? News, used to come through rumors, used to come through a slower. I'm trying to mourn. I'm not trying to complain. I'm just trying to mourn the death of having a simple life. I yearn more and more for a time where I could just work with my hands and have property. Now, like, everything's on the internet. You gotta be plugged into this shit. And it makes life so complex. I don't want to know about it. Most people don't benefit from knowing about it. You're not an elite person with the agency to change the future of these things happening. You're not like a super enlightened person who can choose to turn off your brain and not care at any time. You're not a super high IQ person who can figure this shit out. You're probably a normal ass dude. And you don't need to know all this shit all the time. You need to focus on structuring your life. So nothing ever happens. Is it technically true? No. I mean, something is probably bound to happen over time. Nothing lasts forever. There's probably going to be some shit that explodes. It could be tomorrow. It could be years from now. But you do the wager. You do the wager, and the smart thing to do is to make the bet that the only bet that makes sense. Because if something is going to happen, it's going to happen anyway. And if nothing happens, then you will have benefited from the increased concentration and inner peace you gained from not constantly following this shit and focusing on what's immediately around you. So people will say like, oh, so if it's not happening to you, it doesn't matter. You don't care about this stuff happening all around the world. Yeah, kind of. That's how we've always used to live. There's always shit happening. What, am I supposed to have an infinite mind spreading myself thin, caring about all this shit going on? Dude. When? Since when? You're not that guy. That's not how people work. The fuck are you talking about? Yeah, if it's not happening immediately in front of me, why should, really, I should care a little bit in that so I could be informed just in case there is an opportunity to rally or whatever. But you gotta just look at what's around you. So, yeah, let me pause. Let me see if I have anything else. So, yeah, in conclusion, nothing ever happens. I rock with it. Not necessarily because it's true. Who knows whether or not it's true. Something's bound to happen eventually. But because it's the only sensible way to think about current events and organize your life. Because if something is going to happen, you can't do shit about it. And I don't want to know. You don't want to know about it. I don't want to see the bomb falling. I don't want to see the train. I don't want to see the train tracks leading to a pit and have no agency to stop it. I just want to go through my life, and if something's going to happen, it's going to happen. And if I have to react, I'll react. I don't want to know about it. I don't want to think about the bomb slowly burning my skin and everybody dying and the shockwave throwing me back. I'll proceed as if everything's normal. And I'll move. I'll align my chakras to the swag vibration. I don't want to know about it. I'll just be getting an over-the-pants hand job at the fantasy section at Barnes & Noble. And then if I hear a little something, if I hear a tss, and I'm like, what's going on? And I'll go outside and I'll see the missile falling. I'll only have like 3 seconds to panic before it's over, and that's bliss, baby. I die doing what I love doing. That's what you have to do, man. No use fretting about this stuff. The internet is a constant interruption system, disrupting your feng, disrupting your inner life, leaving no room for silence, for contemplation, for peace. Don't always want to fall down into that. And so, yeah, I'm probably not checking this shit anymore. I'll be uninformed. Call me uninformed, but I'll be chilling. And that's something I value more, kind of. So, yep. That's what it is. I know I had something. Yeah, I think what I wanted to say was, it's kind of funny how the nothing ever happens or are depicted as the chuds, or the kind of like no life individuals. I think that's what a chud is. I think that's like a form of projection. The people who are always kind of betting on something happening, they kind of want something to happen. They want to see it burn because their life is empty. People who are working towards something, whose life is full, who have children, who have things going on, the only way they can operate with any sort of like mental stability is by thinking there is a future, right? By thinking it's not going to be all ruined. There's not always an earth-shattering event around the corner. So yeah, that's probably all I wanted to say. This has been Gerber Johnson. All my links are in the description. Peace out. Have a blessed day.